The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 716. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend, welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal lady on the show today. She is known as DJ and Reverend CherishTheLuv, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Cynthia Cherish Malaran. Cynthia, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Hi, good morning. Wow, I'm so flattered, actually. As you did that intro, it's like, oh, amazing, phenomenal woman. How cool. I am a professional DJ, a reverend, a minister, a diversity and inclusion trainer here in New York City. I am a breast cancer survivor and mom of an awesome adopted dog. I don't know where else to go with my intro. Yeah, and I work out in New York City and across the country and around the world, bringing music and love together and public speaking and all of that. So we can go from there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Cynthia, what's your cultural background?
My parents are Filipino from the Philippines, specifically Bohol. I was born here in the East Village, New York City, so I'm the first generation. I don't speak the language, but I also, of course, know the dirty words and the curse words. But it just kind of was one of those things growing up in the 80s in New York City. They just didn't teach us for so many reasons that are obviously regrettable at this time. But so my parents are Philippine and I'm Filipino-American, proudly so.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Cynthia, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
You know, I thought about that and I couldn't think of anything that was like really stood out to me until I realized there was something I said about 2 weeks ago. And I think this is it. And it links back to me being Filipino American, or at least, an immigrant in this country. I am a jackfruit of all trades.
Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, I think that's a great quote. So I really love that. Thanks for sharing that. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
I think that self-confidence is knowing that you're awesome. In short, I think it's when you have finally come to the place where you know that you have knowledge, you have experience, and that outweighs the fears and the insecurities that might have been programmed into you from whether it's just being in America, cultural background, peer pressure, professional pressure, all of those things that make you feel like you're not good enough. I think my definition of self-confidence is when you're able to put all of that aside because you know you've got something and that you're pretty damn good at it.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. I totally agree. If you can see the worth inside you and like knowing that you are able to go out there and do what you want regardless of what people will tell you or regardless what society says, that's when you can get that confidence to take action in whatever you want to do. So I think that's a great definition. And Cynthia, what's your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Well, that's so great. I realized that my life before discovering, or at least I can't say I discovered it. I think I worked really hard to build up to it. So that's one thing, you have to kind of like take it in your own hands and own that. So I have to own that. Yes, it took a long time, and I mean decades, to feel comfortable public speaking, whether it's recorded or in front of 2 people in a live audience space or 500 people. Or for me personally, it took time for me to be able to feel comfortable doing things like officiating weddings, which is pretty serious, actually. And there's, a lot of emotions and you have to do it right. My life before I wasn't around people. I was hiding, I would say, because I've had 2 different careers now, major careers. My first half of my life, I'm in my mid-40s, so I'd say the first half of my life, I was a professional, pretty high-level graphic designer at advertising agencies and publishing companies, major companies where I was handling large clients and doing lots of big jobs that comfortably kept me hiding behind a computer hiding behind Photoshop, hiding behind people and hiding behind bosses and people who are like my supervisors. And what I mean by hiding behind Photoshop is like, I don't mean just also doing work that kept me staring at a computer and away from people, but it also means I would always Photoshop my own photos, things like that. And I realized that, wow, I don't think I'm really in society. I might be playing some role and serving some corporations and helping them put their work out there, but I knew I was a creative person, and I've been a creative musical person since I was a tiny child. That's like us, Filipinas, Filipinexes. We're so creative people, and we have to express that. And I feel like in the past I was not confident enough to be able to express that for myself. But in our very typical martyr style, we do it for other people more than we do it for ourselves. So that's what my life was like before I realized, hey, I exist too.
Thanks for sharing that. And, I think we all feel that way, right? We like to hide from people. We like to hide from society. Like we kind of just want to be in the background, not realizing like we can be in front of people and still have that confidence and still be our authentic selves. And, especially when we have that creativity inside us that just needs to kind of let out, right? And show people what we've got. And what was that point in your life when you realized you can go out there and do that? What was that aha moment?
I think it was when I realized that I could be my own boss. You grow up and your parents tell you have to become a nurse, a doctor, lawyer, whatever it is. You have to work for a thing. You have to do this thing. You have to get a pension and do that thing. No one ever introduced to me this concept of freelancing and being your own boss. And I started to freelance decades ago. Right now it might be common because this is just the way our world works now with work. There's no jobs that you're at for like 15 years anymore, or at least that's very rare. And once I realized I could be my own boss, and I sat and I did the math, and I was like, I think I could make 3 times what I make if I'm my own boss. And I decided to just kind of go for it. And I was 100% correct. I could make 3 times more being my own boss at least. And I also was able to get more done and more out of me. And that is a much happier me. And trust me, this world is better when there's a happier me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, because of your realization, especially, realizing that you could be your own boss, like it's so true. Nobody teaches us that, especially in school, right? It's always like you're prepared to go out into the world and get a job. Nobody says, go out there and do something that you love. Go out there and start a business. Go out there and create purpose. It's just go find a job, go find a job, go find a job. And there's nothing wrong with having a job, especially if you love it, right? I think it's great. But there's so many people out there who dread going into that 9-to-5 routine or dread their jobs or their boss or the politics. And that's when you can realize like there's options. There's other things out there. And, because of your realizations, being your own boss, what's your life been like now?
Well, you know what? Let me add to that, because if we're going to talk about what my life is like now, there's a major piece about my aha moment or my life after this aha moment. So we just talked about work, bosses and freelancing and that kind of stuff. But there's also an aha moment that I had, and I think a lot of women, a lot of people discover for themselves like regarding their body. So I would say that I had to also go through an aha moment of finding confidence in myself after surviving breast cancer. Now, once my body changed after breast cancer, I realized I could go 2 ways. I could hate my body and the new shape and the new scars I have and see how that affects my entire life, or love that I survived it, love my new self, and feel like super strong from it. And my body is completely changed. I have undergone a double mastectomy with no reconstruction. And that has been actually an incredible source of confidence and strength. And it's backwards, because you as women and young women, you don't think like, oh my God, how could you possibly feel confident and strong after losing your breasts? Because isn't that what defines women? At least that's what I was told to me by one of my doctors. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm a woman after I survived this disease. So once I survived that, I realized like, okay, that's also a major marker in my life of knowing that all those other like petty things that would spark insecurity in me, like were a joke, like, oh, please. It's like, look what I've gone through. Like, I feel pretty confident after this. And I don't wish it on anyone, but should you go through it, I wish you end up on this side instead of the other side, because my life after all of that is just fully empowered, just complete empowerment, and it leaks onto all the people I meet, and they say, how did you metabolize this so that it was a positive thing? And I was like, it was a choice. And that being able to make that choice in this journey, that's something that we're not told we have a choice. See, there's like so much more discussion here now we're going to have about choices that exist. And we have a lot of choices. We're just not, I think culturally, we're just so obedient to that which is the precedents and what comes before us and elders and so on. I think to find your personal sense of self-confidence, you have to really just sit with yourself and ask what you want to do and what you like and what makes you happy, and not chase it, not follow it, but like build up to that.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think, that's great that, you were able to take something as, breast cancer, something that's like life-threatening, and turning it into something positive. And yeah, just because, you don't have the physical features of a woman anymore doesn't make you any less of a woman. In fact, it's more because you've survived it. You've gone through so much like trauma and obstacles, and you're still here standing and smiling and speaking life into people and DJing and officiating weddings. Like that's what life is all about, right? Doing the things that you love to do. And, I wish more people could actually open up to more stories like this. Like you mentioned, I don't want this to happen to anybody, but if it does happen, see it more in a positive life, because whatever happens in our life, it's either we choose to see a lesson and provide something positive or see it as a negative, right? Like you mentioned, we have that power of choice. And I think people forget that we do have a choice, right? We have a choice to either, move forward
or go backwards, which is, and I'm going to tell you something about backwards. Like this is a pattern that I had for the first maybe 25, 30, maybe 35 years of my life, constantly looking at the past. And I realized, here's another aha moment, when I realized I can't drive this car constantly staring in the rearview mirror. I can't. It just gives me a headache. Gives me a lot of anxiety, gives me a lot of worry. And if I just stay focused on what's in front of me, literally in front of me, and not even too far ahead of me, because I can't see that either, just like, but what is in front of me, and make sure that there's no, crazy things about to come my way, try to stay safe and make those choices, then you have a lot more power than you realize that, and a lot more power than you were told. So, and of course, I don't wish this kind of enlightenment on anyone, but the fact is, anywhere between, 1 or 1 out of 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer, and lots of different stats about different types of cancer. But if you are able to take whatever is thrown at you and like literally jujitsu it into something that is epic, like I view my losing my breasts kind of like, when the space shuttle goes up into space and it has to shed those 2 rocket boosters in order to get out there into the most awesome place possible. That's how I view losing my breasts. And I feel like I gained so much more than I lost. And that has brought me intense levels of confidence. And that's unusual. I understand that, but it's possible. And at this side of all of it, because of those choices and the confidence that I have, I'm able to surround myself with exactly what I want, which is surround myself with love and music all the time and actually get paid for it. Like, that's a dream. But it wouldn't come without me making those choices and feeling confident enough to be like, I want to do this.
Thanks for sharing then. I love that analogy with the rocket ships. It makes total sense. And yeah, for some people it's not going to make sense, but if it makes sense to you and the right people you talk to will understand it, right? They'll realize like, yeah, there's more to life than just, physical features. There's more living out there. Your dream is now your reality. And when people see that, it all makes sense in the end. So thanks for sharing that. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, or check out some of your work, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, the easiest thing to see what's current and what's going on in my life is to go right to my Instagram. That's the hub. It used to be my website, but honestly, I haven't updated that in like a year and a half. So go to my Instagram, which is at DJ Cherish the Love. Love is spelled L-U-V, all one word. DJ Cherish the Love, like the song. And check out what I'm going through, what I'm sharing with other people. I produce shows where people can just come in and like do their thing. I'm in New York City. So if you're in New York area or visiting, come say hi. I'm also in LA a whole bunch. So come say hi. You'll see what I'm up to. And yeah, I have lots of tips and advice to share. My number one self-confidence building tip, and this is going to sound so Like, what? That doesn't make sense. Make your bed every morning. Honestly, you cannot go out into the world and pretend you're confident and feel confident if your bed at home is a disaster. There's something that happens every morning because you have to manage your private tests of self-confidence. And what I mean by private is like things that people don't see. Maybe your partner sees the bed, but like, you know, the outside world and your boss and social media shouldn't be seeing your bed. So if you're managing those private things like nicely, it's the best way to create your base for the day. When I started, and I'm going to admit this like live, I didn't start not religiously, but regularly making my bed until I was like in my mid 30s, and it really changed everything. It started my day off and then ended my day very nicely. And that's like a form of self-love like people don't really talk about. Like, make your bed. Do it for a straight month and come back to me and tell me it hasn't changed you. That's like my dare.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Cynthia, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Cynthia's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And tune in for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Get your free self-talk tape for building self-confidence by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.